Ray, well, thank you for agreeing to sit down and talk about this. But just wanted to get the ball rolling. So how or where did you even get the idea you wanted to invest in real estate?
Well, my story is pretty unique. I didn't own a house. I always rented. I didn't own a house. I bought my first house when I was 41. And it was out of necessity. My wife and I had been married almost exactly 1 year. We got burned out in the wildfires of 2007, lost our place. Lived in a travel trailer trying to figure out what we're going to do. She got pregnant. First marriage for both of us. We can't have a child in a travel trailer. Really lit a fire into me. I guess I'm going to have to get serious, grow up, and find a house. And went through several realtors and brokers that just I felt weren't treating me right. Found a broker that I really liked. I think you know this broker. And I bought my first house. And it was a big step. I mean, that's a big commitment when you're a first-time home buyer. And I don't know if I was really ready for it, but I needed a house, and that's what it was. And certainly I was financially ready for it. I was just, when you're going, I'm going to spend all this money for something I may not pay off in my lifetime, and you can't look at it that way. So later, a year or two later, I had the opportunity to invest in rental property, and I'm all in. And again, there's that sense of nervousness. Is this really for me? Do I want to do this? But I put the money into it, and I wish I'd gotten into real estate earlier because it's paid off beyond anything I ever expected.
So what was the switch? Because you said you were super nervous and hesitant about buying your first house, which was your primary, but you said a year later, all of a sudden, I want an investment. So that's a pretty quick turnaround, going from, wow, I don't know about one, to, hey, I want two.
It is. It's seeing, and 2007, 2008, that's when the real estate market, we'd had that housing bubble burst and everything. And so prices were kind of at their bottom, and people were thinking they're back to normal. But Southern California, the housing market is just going to grow. It's just going to keep going. People want to live here. The weather's perfect, no matter what political or socioeconomic status the state is in. People want to live here, and the demand for housing is great. And that's just kept the price going up, going up, going up. And that's where I realized so much of my, I'm not going to say wealth, but so much of my financial wherewithal comes from my properties. And I'm grateful for that. It's done me really well. And the transition to go from, homeowner to getting to rental property was pretty easy once I kind of understood, had a lot of help, worked with people that I trusted and respected, which I hadn't been able to find before. And then when I found those people, I learned so much. I wanted to increase my knowledge, and it's just grown ever since.
So, you had said the first one was scary. Getting your primary was a scary prospect, but the investment one, you were confident going into that one. That one wasn't as scary?
No, there's a certain level of commitment you have, but, a wise realtor told me one time, if you don't like it, sell it and get out from under it.
Who was that realtor?
That was Lynn Judson, your mom.
Yep.
So, and you've said the same things to me as well. In fact, you're the one that sold me the rental property, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And since then, the amount of equity I've gotten in my properties, it's just, I want to get more into it. And that's why I personally got into real estate, because it was such a mystery. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I had to get help from people that were professionals and enjoyed helping me. And that's now why I enjoy doing it, because I like helping others in real estate.
So the way you're describing it, you're kind of making it sound like it was smooth sailing, like you just got the first one, this is great, got the second one, wow, this is great. But did you encounter any resistance from friends, family, colleagues, anyone just saying, well, what are you doing? Why do you want an investment? That's a horrible idea.
I think I was working as a fireman at the time, and I worked with a lot of younger guys, quite a few of them that bought more than they could afford, and the big housing bubble burst, and they walked away from them. Some of them had affected their credit and everything, and I took a lot of grief. Why are you buying a house now? It's just, you're going to fall to ruin, and it's going to financially break you or bankrupt you or whatever. And you have to have a place to live, and you're going to pay rent somewhere. I may as well pay rent for my own property. And of course, the housing market has increased since then. Sure, there's cycles. It goes up, it goes down. But if those people had stuck with it, they would be much better off than if they just walked away from their loans at the time because they thought they couldn't afford it or the property's not worth what I'm paying on it. Things change. You can always refinance every time the rates go low. And if they'd stuck with it, they would be doing much better off than I think they are now financially. I mean, that's 15 years worth of time wasted in building your will.
Kind of segueing into it, you said people getting out these loans they couldn't afford, and that's a big concern a lot of people looking to get into investing have. It's like, where does that money come from? Where does that initial investment, down payment, whatever, come from to get into an investment property? So where did it come from for you?
For me, I'd always been a saver. I mean, I still own the first truck I bought when I was 18 years old, and I still have it. I still drive it. It's not my everyday drive, but I still have it because it's worth more to me to keep and use for yard work and stuff. It's a pickup than to let it go. I tend to save things, and I save money. I mean, I don't spend a lot of money. I had put quite a bit of money away and made it my mission to put money aside. Now, I didn't really know if I'd intended to buy a house at some point, but the fire and getting married certainly forced that to come sooner than I thought it was going to be. But I had 20 years worth of savings. I'd always put money away. I had a Roth IRA, I had a 401k, I had money in savings, and I'd done pretty well for myself. So I was able to put a sizable down payment down, which is tough today, but my advice to people who are just starting out, don't live lavishly, put money aside, because your house will be your best investment, and maybe not just your financial investment, but I mean, it's your castle. This is where you're going to raise your kids. You're going to have, your family. You're going to go through family things. It's more than just a house, and you can look at it as a house, but if it's your home, it's much more than that. The rental properties, those are just homes. I don't care about that. That's just a financial thing for me, but my house is my castle. And that I love and treasure, and I would pay anything for that.
So with that, you had mentioned the investment property, the rental is just a house. So how did you decide on the one that you ended up buying? What made you pick that one?
I was told by my realtor that it was a good deal, and this is a good investment, and it comes with some perks. I think it was a home path loan, which really is what incentivized me. It was 5% down and no PMI. Now, those things don't exist today. They might come back, but they're really for getting rid of distressed properties, of which it was. It was a bank-owned. Somebody had walked away from it. It needed some work. Not a lot, but it needed some work. So 10% down of, I think it was $200,000. I put $20,000 down, another 10 into fixing it up, and had a renter in it. And since then, I've refinanced and lowered the payment and add a little bit to it, but I don't really want to. My goal is not to pay it off. I don't want to pay the loan off. I want to return my investment. And as long as I get more back than the payment, I'm positive cash flow, and I want to maximize it.
So you said you got the investment property in 2000, what was it, 10?
I'd say it was, I can't remember exactly. I know I bought my house in 2008, so probably 2010 or 11. So I probably had it almost 15 years.
And you said you got it for $200 back then.
$200,000, and now it's worth, it's worth what somebody's going to be willing to pay for it, obviously. But the comparable estimates in the neighborhood now are a little over $600,000. So just not even looking at the amount of money that I get from the rental, just the appreciation of the property itself has gained me $400,000 plus in equity.
$400,000 in equity, but how much over your actual investment have you gained? Because you said your only investment in the property was $20,000. $20,000 has gotten you over $400,000 in equity. That's quite a return.
That's quite a return. Now, it's not always roses. I mean, when you rent property, you have to deal with renters, and I've had some bad renters, and I've had some bad luck. I've had to put a lot of money into it to fix things. And that's just the cost of doing business. I don't cry about that. It's how it goes, because in the grand scheme of things, I mean, look how much more the property's worth than it was when I bought it. That's where my wealth is coming from, not the day-to-day or month-to-month rent that comes in and then having to spend on, say, fixing an AC unit or the roof has a leak, things like that. Those are just cost of doing business. So I don't look at it any other way than this is doing me great and I'll take care of it.
So with that property, did you know it was a good deal right off the bat, or is it something that you just were uncertain about, or how confident were you going into that property?
I had a little more confidence and competence going into it because I had more trust, certainly with the realtor, which made all, and literally it made all the difference. Because when we were looking for a house, and I'm going to step back to 2008. I had people show me stuff that was like, this is not what I want. This is not where I want to be. Even though I'm qualified to buy more, they're showing me stuff that's maxed out on what I was qualified, pre-approved to purchase. I'm like, this isn't what I want. I don't want to commit that big. And you're not even showing me things. I had one realtor tell me she didn't want to drive to the area I wanted to live. And yeah, how are you helping people? I mean, it's just the poor level of service, and the mortgage brokers weren't a whole lot better. I had a mortgage broker try to snow me that, with my credit score, it might be a little hard to get a good rate. And I knew my middle score was like 802.
Mm-hmm.
How could this be possible? So I asked him, show me this credit score. How bad is my credit? And so he shovels through the papers. Clearly he hadn't read it, because he looks at it and his whole demeanor changed. He's just feeding me a line for what I don't know. And I'm just like, man, if you can't be honest with me, if you can't even look at my paper before I come in and meet with you, I'm out. This isn't for me. So finding a good realtor, a good mortgage broker, those are the things that I've learned along the way that I wish I'd known to begin with, and I wish it was that easy for everybody. And unfortunately, it's not.
How'd you find your mortgage broker you ended up working with?
My realtor suggested him. And I'm still friends with that mortgage broker today. He still gets a Christmas card from me because he's treated me really well. I've referred other business to him, and he's helped me out. And this was before I got into real estate, particularly from a business point of view. It's just he was super nice to me. He didn't mess around, and I felt that he was honest. And that goes a long way, because in this business, unfortunately, there's room for dishonesty with some people.
So you're saying realtors are a good source of referrals for mortgage brokers?
100%, because the realtors work with, and they know who's going to serve their customers best. And most realtors that are quality and have integrity and care about their business do the best they can for the long term. It may not be the best thing for the short term. They can't maximize their profits, but they realize if I make a customer now, this customer is going to come back to me. And much like me, I came back to you and your mom. In fact, I now work for you and your mom because I like the business so much, and I want to deliver that type of quality. But the realtor having knowledge of the local market, having an understanding of the financial perspective on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, because it changes so much, especially as of late, makes all the difference. And they know who to connect with. I mean, you need somebody to inspect your home. They know somebody because they work with these people. You need somebody to do some earth moving and grading. If I need some plumbing, the realtor is your best bet to find that information, because that's what they do every day.
So back to your investment property, did it cash flow immediately? Was it profitable for you, put money in your pocket every month? Or did it take some time before it got to that point?
I think it took some time. I mean, I was out $10,000 extra just the first month. I mean, I probably spent 2 months putting some work into it, painting, carpet, fixing door locks, lights that were broken, some fixtures and appliances needed to be updated and replaced. $10,000, 15 years ago went a little bit further than it does today, but at the time it seemed like a lot. And here I'm making payments on this, and I don't have any income. So yeah, I was a little nervous, but as time went on and I learned the process of finding good renters, and I've always done it myself. I've never used a property manager, and until I get spread so thin that I can't take care of things adequately, then I'll continue to do it myself.
Was that calculated into your decision? Because you had mentioned you used the Home Path loan, which was designed for distressed property. So you knew going into it, obviously, because we had really investigated and scoured through that property, that it needed these things. So you had already calculated for that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I didn't know how much I was getting into it for, because every time you turn around, something else is like, how much is that?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't think on a small perspective like that, because I mean, here I'm stressing about putting $5,000 or $10,000 into a property, and I've realized $400,000 plus in equity in less than 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if our 401ks did that, we'd all be retiring at age 40.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you leveraged your investment? How is it? Have you had any lifestyle changes, or what advantages has your investment offered you and your family?
Well, I'd love to be able to tell you I bought a yacht and I've sailed around the world twice, but honestly, I'm a saver, not a spender, and my next goal is to buy more rental property. And perhaps also buy a larger house for my family, keep my existing property and do a 1031 and just keep my existing property and rent that. And then for my rental property, leverage that into something else as well. So I don't want to pay capital gains tax. And there's ways you can do that with a 1031. And I think I'm just going to be better off having more rental property because, again, the value I get out of buying something at one price, waiting a certain amount of time, and the value just keeps going up. And even with the dips and the bubbles, it's just keeps going up.
So it sounds like something that you're very confident in if you were to repeat the process.
100%, especially now that I know more than, now that I have my real estate license. It has increased my knowledge. I didn't know what I didn't know, and the more I learned, the more I realized there's still so much more I need to learn. But it's made me more confident and competent in the real estate market to look and go, hey, I think that's a good deal, or maybe that's not such a good deal. Or for a client to look and say, this is a really good value, or maybe the client's really just looking for a home. Maybe not be the best value, but on the other hand, it's only going to grow as time progresses. You're not going to lose money. And we all have to pay rent or a mortgage, so you may as well, if you're buying a first-time home buyer, buy a house, and that's your castle. It doesn't matter what it costs because that's your home. A rental property is different. You're looking at it from a financial perspective.
So going back when you first bought your income property and your primary, you have since learned in the 15 years of owning that investment property. So now you know all the ins and outs of being a property manager, how the investment process works. But now you're a licensed realtor, so now you get the transaction side of it. You know the contract, you know the disclosures, you know all the investigations, loans, appraisals, all the nitty-gritty stuff that is pretty nasty. But so how confident are you to offer help to somebody who might be looking to get into the investment game?
Well, I feel very confident and competent to be able to provide that. I didn't see the value of a realtor, and maybe that was because they were like car salesmen to me or financial advisors. I mean, those are worlds that I'm not, the first 30, 40 years of my life, what are you going to tell somebody in their 20s and go see a financial advisor? Luckily, I took that advice, and I've been, a saver ever since, and I've tucked money away. But most 20-year-olds don't do that. I mean, I've worked with plenty of firefighters that make $100,000 to $130,000 a year, and they're broke because they live a lavish lifestyle. They spend money. So, what was your question?
Having the experience of being an investor and now being a licensed realtor, how confident are you to help somebody to begin this investment process? Because now you know both sides. You know what to look for in a property, and now you know how to go get it.
I feel very confident and competent in doing that, especially now that I've learned so much more about how the process works. I've been through it from the buyer point of view. I've been through it from the realtor point of view. I've been through it from the seller point of view. So for me, learning what a realtor does, the value of a good, qualified, competent realtor is so much more to me than it ever was, because I realize how much room there is for somebody that maybe doesn't take their job seriously, can lead to problems in buying the house and researching the property and in getting you into it, making sure that everything is, there's so many things like the neighbor builds a fence over the line that can lead to legal problems way down the road that somebody may not want to, not even have been aware of that. And a competent realtor could have said, hey, this is going to be an issue. Maybe we should take care of this. Maybe look at something else. There's tons of examples of things. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but having a qualified realtor, boy, I'm blowing this, aren't I?
No, you're doing fine.
Having a qualified realtor to guide you and lead you. I mean, if your house is on fire, who do you call? You call a firefighter. You don't call your mechanic. If you need a plumber, you don't call your electrician. You call a plumber. You want to do something with land sales, purchasing, buying a property or a rental or a lease, you call a realtor because they are who specializes in it. You're not going to take your car to the plumber. So it is somebody that works in that business and understands it and will guide and protect you.
So speaking of calling realtors, say somebody who's listening is interested, hey, that guy knows what he's talking about, I want to get in the investment game. How do they get in touch with you?
I work for Judson Real Estate. I've lived in Escondido I'm a 5th generation Escondido resident. just get on Google. I'm pretty popular on Google, so if you Google my name, you will find me.
JudsonRE.com, and you'll find them.
Yes.
So that kind of took care of the list, but is there anything else you want to go over? Any questions you want me to lead you into, or?
No, I think my final parting statement would be that if you're a first-time home buyer, or even if you're not, you're somebody that's been around and you're looking for rental property, to protect yourself and make sure you get the best value for your money and your investment, use a qualified realtor. Get somebody that's been around, that knows and understands, especially the local market. A lot of people look at these big powerhouses, the big companies. I won't mention names, but they usually have 2 or 3, 4 letters in their names. You need somebody local that understands. The people that work in that community, that represent that community and don't work for a large corporation, I think are going to serve you best. And that's when I became a realtor. I interviewed at a couple of those places, and it just didn't seem. It seemed too much multi-level marketing. It didn't put the customer first. And I think finding a local realtor or brokerage that serves the community of that city, town, municipality, that county, that parish, whatever area you're in, you're going to be better served.
So I want to touch on this one more time because it's pretty crazy, but I want to emphasize your initial investment financially into your investment property was $20,000.
$20,000. So I put 10% down of $199,000. So $20,000. I put another $10,000 into painting, carpet, appliances, and so $30,000 has rolled into over I'm going to say about $420,000 worth of that, or not more.
Yeah. And the whole time your payments are being taken care of by the tenant, and the tenant's actually putting money in your pocket. So by having this investment, you've been getting paid with passive income this whole time, and at the end of the day now you've got over $400,000 in equity from your initial $30,000.
$400,000 in equity, and I get a monthly check with money that goes into my bottom line.
It doesn't get much better than that.
It certainly doesn't. So 2 or 3 or 4 more properties down the road,
Yep.
then I'll get the yacht.
Perfect. Cool.